Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever wondered what you'd actually be capable of if you pushed past every single mental and physical barrier? I mean, what if I told you your brain is basically lying to you about how strong you are? Today, we're diving into something that is going to challenge almost everything you think you know about the human body. We're going to explore the astonishing limits of our physiology and discover why your brain, and not your muscles, is the ultimate gatekeeper of your physical strength. Okay, picture this. It's 1982. An everyday mother named Angela Cavallo is working outside when a 3,500-pound Chevy Impala slips off its jacks. Her teenage son is completely pinned underneath. Now, she has absolutely no weightlifting training, no warning whatsoever, and yet seemingly defying the laws of physics, she grabs the bumper of that car, she inextricably hoists that massive vehicle just high enough and holds it just long enough for two neighbors to pull her son out. Literally unbelievable, right?
And the wild thing is, feats like this aren't completely isolated. Take Marie Bootsy Payton from Texas. This grandmother easily tossed a heavy gas-powered riding lawnmower entirely off her young granddaughter after it rolled onto her. But here is the fascinating part. Later on, when she tried to lift that exact same mower under normal conditions, she couldn't even budge it, not an inch. So this begs a massive question. Do we all have superpowers hidden inside our muscles, just waiting to be unlocked?
Well, this phenomenon actually has a name. It's known as hysterical strength. It's an evolutionary survival adaptation where the body completely transcends its normal limitations when confronted with extreme, immediate danger. So no, it's not magic, and it's definitely not a superpower. It is a highly coordinated, temporary, biological override that allows you to access deep, deep reserves of strength you didn't even know you had. So how does this actually happen? The whole process starts in the brain with what's known as an amygdala hijack. Under normal circumstances, your frontal lobes, the rational thinking part of your brain, they're running the show. But when you perceive a life-threatening emergency, your amygdala, the brain's deep-seated fear center, just completely takes over the wheel. It basically short-circuits your logical thinking to force an immediate, automatic survival response. When that alarm sounds, boom, it triggers an instant physiological cascade. The amygdala signals your hypothalamus to dump massive amounts of adrenaline and cortisol directly into your bloodstream. Immediately, your heart rate and breathing spike to astronomical levels, flooding your major muscle groups with oxygen. And simultaneously, your brain releases a huge surge of endorphins that act as natural painkillers. Pain and fatigue are just completely erased, leaving you with explosive, uninhibited power. But here is the absolute craziest part of all of this. It turns out, under normal, non-threatening conditions, your brain is actively restricting your muscle exertion to only about 60% of their actual absolute capacity. Your body is incredibly protective, and it's constantly trying to conserve energy. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to recruit 100% of your muscle fibers just to pick up a grocery bag, right? So your brain keeps a massive reserve tank locked away exclusively for true life-or-death emergencies. This internal safeguard is perfectly explained by something called the central governor theory. It suggests that our brain acts exactly like a safety mechanism, kind of like a rev limiter on a high-performance sports car. It continuously caps our strength and limits our endurance so we don't literally tear our own bodies apart or suffer a terminal metabolic crisis. It's a built-in safeguard that strictly prioritizes your long-term survival over maximum short-term output. This groundbreaking idea was first proposed back in 1997 by a South African sports scientist named Tim Noakes, and it fundamentally changed the way we understand sports science. Why? Because it suggested that fatigue isn't just physical wear and tear on your muscles. Actually, fatigue is an emotion. It's a protective sensation generated entirely by your brain to force you to stop working, long before you cause permanent physical damage. See, for a really long time, we relied on the catastrophic failure model. This old model assumed that when you get tired, your muscles have simply run out of fuel, exactly like a car running out of gas. But the central governor model flips that entirely on its head. It proves that the brain creates the illusion of fatigue long before your ATP or glycogen energy is actually depleted, entirely to maintain a safe physiological balance or homeostasis. Let's look at a perfect example of this safety brake on a local muscular level. Enter the Golgi tendon organ, or GTO. Located right at the critical junction between the muscle belly and its tendon, the GTO is constantly sensing tension. If it senses that the tension is getting dangerously high, like the muscle might actually snap right off the bone, it reflexively forces the muscle to relax. This localized safety mechanism is a process called autogenic inhibition. Think about trying to drop into a full split without any gymnastics training. You know that intense, immovable resistance you feel where your body just screams, nope? That is autogenic inhibition in action. Your nervous system is actively hitting the brakes on your raw muscular potential. It flat out won't let you stretch further or push harder because it's prioritizing the safety of your joints and tissues over absolute force.
But what's wild is that athletes actually train to systematically bypass these limits. Lifting heavy weights isn't just about building bigger muscles. A fascinating study from the University of Nebraska by researcher Nathaniel Jenkins showed that high-load strength training is actually conditioning the nervous system itself. It makes it significantly more efficient at transmitting electrical signals straight from the brain to the muscle fibers. Basically, by repeatedly exposing the body to heavy loads in a controlled environment, athletes are conditioning their brain to recruit larger, fast-twitch muscle fibers. They are literally teaching their nervous system to safely edge past that everyday 60% limit, achieving a much higher percentage of voluntary muscle activation. So every time you get stronger in the gym, you're essentially training your brain's governor to loosen its grip. Today, science has evolved this central governor concept into what's called the biopsychosocial model. This recognizes that our endurance and strength are actually a real-time negotiation between our biology, like our hydration levels and core temp, our psychological motivation, and our social environment. Have you ever noticed how the cheers of a crowd can suddenly give a marathon runner the energy to sprint that final mile? That is the social environment successfully tricking the central governor into allowing more physical output. And get this. Researchers found you can even placebo hack this governor. Simply swishing a sugary carbohydrate drink in your mouth without even swallowing it tricks the brain into thinking that fresh fuel is on the way. Just by sensing the sugar in your mouth, the central governor immediately lowers the feeling of fatigue, allowing you to push much harder. It's entirely a psychological override. You didn't even ingest the calories, but you still got the energy. Now, you might be wondering, why can't I just turn this on all the time? Well, overriding the governor constantly would be physically disastrous. As physician Hans Selye studied, staying in a prolonged state of hyperarousal inevitably leads to the exhaustion stage. If you constantly bypassed your body's safety limits, it would lead to severe muscle tears, joints pulling completely out of their sockets, and a total collapse of your immune system. That homeostasis is quite literally what keeps us alive. So the next time you're at the gym and feel like you can't lift another weight, or you're running and think you can't take another single step, remember this incredibly empowering truth about human physiology. Your brain calls time long before your body does. You almost never hit your true physical limit. You're just hitting the safety margin that your brilliant, protective mind has set for you. Which leaves us with one pretty incredible question to ponder. If the exhaustion you feel is mostly a protective illusion generated by your mind, and your muscles are secretly hoarding a massive reserve of untapped potential, what are you truly capable of achieving once you learn to negotiate with your own brain?